resume the recording rather. All right, I'll share my video so you can see my face as well. Uh, my camera is coming. Let's see. I don't know if my camera is on or not, but
Yes, yes.
okay, you guys can see it. So thanks everyone for joining. Let's begin the session. I have all the details there, so I'll just share my screen, and once somebody can confirm that you can see my screen, I'll start talking. Can somebody confirm that you can
Yeah,
see
we
my
can
screen?
see.
Perfect. Thank you. So today's topic, just flashed it here, building a skill first organization. The keyword there is skill first. And of course, the second keyword is how HR can lead the upskilling revolution. And I prepared this presentation based on my experience for last 25 years, how the how the market has moved, or how the organizations have moved in this new era. And of course, the last 5 years I've been working in this field where we have built this LMS, and I've talked to a lot of people like you, a lot of HRs, and solved some of the problems. So that's me. My name is Nikesh Jain, co-founder of Edurigo Technologies. Quick introduction. I won't take long. I'm a software engineer by heart. Worked in the industry for almost 25 years before I started this company. So still very techie guy, if you will. But in last 5 years, I've learned a lot about uh, learning L&D specifically, because that's where the software helps. So I've just collated all that experience here and then the latest changes. So the very first obvious question is, why skill first, right? So in this slide, I've tried to answer that. Uh, First reason, trust me, I've never seen the landscape changing though that this fast. What's happening today? Uh, the rapid business change demands adaptable capabilities. Uh, Whatever skills, whatever capabilities you have developed yesterday, 20 to 30% of that has changed today. Literally within a quarter, things are changing, and I'm seeing that change. Especially if I take an example of software companies, uh, whatever skills we have developed with AI adoption, things have changed rapidly. All my engineers today, they have to be AI savvy, otherwise, no, they cannot survive. So you can see the business is changing so rapidly, and the same expectation because of AI. Every organization have those expectations that your software has to support AI, or the resources have to know AI and all that. So the previously, we used to have this concept of roles and job descriptions. They are still very much there, but they are changing very, very rapidly. So the job description, you write a job description, you hire that person who is matching the job description, but by the time that person after 3 months is onboarded, within 3 months, that entire role has changed. It has new flavors in it, because the business is changing. So that's where this old definition of roles and job descriptions are fading away. Now, of course, we need to replace that with something, and that something is skills. Now, I'm not suggesting that skills is something new. Skills was always there, but in all honesty, we never managed it very well. The skills, the 80 to 90% organization I talk to, and I talk to a lot of people these days, I find that the management or skill management itself is not there. Now, what we are promoting, what we are suggesting through this presentation, that skills are the new currency, if you will. They provide you, if you build a skill or a skill-based organization, it makes you adaptable to changes very quickly, and that makes your organization future-proof. That's the point we are trying to make, and of course, we'll see it through when we go through the other part of the presentation. Organization with a strong skill ecosystem outperform peers. So that's something, organization which are managing skills, and I've talked to some organization which have been managing skills for long. I mean, for 15, 20 years, and manufacturing companies, and they of course they have done very well in terms of adaptability, because the machinery was changing, everything was changing, but because they were working with skills, they were able to adapt to those changes. They were able to hire resourcing quickly.
Sure.
Sorry,
Connect
uh,
not to Corona.
Vijay, are you asking a question? If not, do you mind going on mute, please? Thank you. So the organization which have very strong skill ecosystem, the point is they outperform the peers in terms of adaptability. And ultimately, as I said, everything feeds into your business, which is your revenue and other KPIs, right? And feel free to ask questions, folks. I mean, I want to keep it interactive. If you have a question, if you don't agree with something, feel free. I mean, let's keep it very interactive. So the second slide, we are talking about shifting from roles to skills. So we sort of appreciated the fact in the last slide that yes, skill first is the mantra now. Now, how do we move forward? So as I sort of hinted in my previous slide, we need to we need to shift from this role-based structure to more skill-based models. Now, I'm not suggesting that you just throw away the roles. They are not going anywhere. All your HRMS have this notion of role, org structure have notion of roles and job description. They are not going away. But the point is like, if when you have to, if you're adopting a skill based, if you want to make your organization skill based, you probably want to marry these two concepts, your role and your job description, their job profiles, they have to marry with skills, and then skills becomes your primary currency to move forward. So the first step, I'll just flash all four things which I'm talking about here. The first step, I'm suggesting define core functional emerging skills. So every organization will have certain core skills, certain functional skills, and given the business landscape which is changing, you will have a set of skills which are upcoming. Again, an example here, a software organization, and I've seen this in one of the organizations recently, who is my customer. They had core skills. The core skills could be programming capabilities using technology like .NET, Java, and all that. The functional skill could be like domain knowledge, insurance domain knowledge, manufacturing domain knowledge, and stuff like that, which is like very specific domains. They also had this emerging skills. So emerging skills in their world was cloud, when the cloud was new. And latest is this emerging skills is all this models which are AI models which are coming in. So now everybody is generating code using AI. So you need to have those skills. You don't have to write .NET code from scratch. You can ask a model, you can ask a LLM model like Claude uh, to generate those model code. So those now that software company, if they were to be successful, they have to be successful in future. They have to build those skills, how to use those models. Figma, for example, today you can just talk to Chat GPT. If you don't know Figma, Figma is a tool to design your AI, your UI. So you can just give a Chat GPT prompt, Chat GPT like prompt to Figma now, and you can say, okay, I'm building this. Can you generate me a design? And trust me, within an hour, it will generate you a beautiful design, a wireframe, what we call it. Now, if you don't have that skills, if you do it old way, it will take you a month to generate exactly the same thing. Now, think about it, like from a month to an hour. And these are real examples. Everybody, we use at Edurigo, we use a lot of tools like Claude these days, where my team is generating code using that. So these are emerging skills. Now in software, these are the emerging skills. In your domain, it could be something else. So you need to identify your core skills, your functional skills, and emerging skills, and you have an inventory of that. So when you do that, you are sort of not running behind job titles. Now there was a time I remember, we would ask like we should have so many architects, we should have so many software engineers, we should have. Not anymore. Not anymore. You need to build capability, and that capability, your focus has to be your focus has to be on building capability rather than running behind job titles. And one more thing I'm observing, and again, because I come from software background, I'll keep taking those examples, so pardon me for that, and try to map them for your world. uh, what I'm seeing, difference between a software engineer and senior software engineer collapsing. Even my associate engineer is performing at a level of a senior software engineer, because he or she has access to those tools. So Point is, we don't have to worry about job titles anymore. You need to see whether the capability is there in the organization or not. As simple as that, right? Now, if you do that, internal mobility and cross, it will enable your internal mobility. You can move people from one job to other jobs, because we are all talking about capability rather than titles. So somebody who was in quality department can move to a different department because their skills are matching. So this cross functional movements will be much easier if you move to a skill based organization rather than a role or job description or job title based organization. Okay. Now, this is the biggest challenge: identifying skill gaps using data driven insights. Now, unless so let's say in the previous slide we talked about, like, identifying your skills. Let's say you identified that for your business, you need these kind of capabilities, and those capabilities you have defined them very well. uh, but the next thing is obviously obvious questions: do we have that capability or not? And that's where, uh, as an HR, the challenge comes in. You need to do mapping exercise. So you need to find out. So let's say you identified that we need 20 people with skill A, we need another 10 people with a skill B of this level and all that. Let's say you identified all that for your business to run. Then you have to map that to your organization, and that's the only way you will be able to identify the gaps. Now, how do you do that? That's the biggest challenge I have seen. No organization can today say with confidence, if they are not having that structure, that we do have enough capability or not. So in a mathematical terms, if you have to do that, you need to map your people to skills, and that's where this point is: use assessments, performance data, and analytics to map current skills. Now, this itself is a big topic, and at Edurigo we try to solve that for people, right? So you can use assessment. So I'll give some of the example from my clients what they do. So let's say they want to do a project. They got $1 million project and they want to execute it. That project, they know that project will require 10 skills, and different capabilities there. So they will go through their current people. They will take their current people through some assessments, and those assessments, the result of those assessments will will give them an output where they can say, okay, we have 10 people, check mark, they have these skills. We have 7 people, check mark, they have this skill. And based on that, they will be able to identify the gaps for that project. And then to fill that gap, obviously, you need to hire people or you need to skill people. Those are the activities. But before you can do that, you need to identify the gaps. And that's where I'm suggesting, like, this is what will help you. So that's the first point. Now, the gaps can be identified in individual, a team, and organization level. So organization level, basically, you will say for next 5 years, we want our revenue to be reaching to that level. So you will break down that, and that ultimately, to support that KPI, you will say we will require that capability. So you will need those kind of skills, and that's where your organization level skill mapping will help you, because once you have that data, you will be able to do the gap analysis. Team level, of course, I was talking about that project. A project is executed by a team. So let's say you have a project, you have 10 people team. You know what is the skill required for that project uh, for a particular duration. You have a team, and if you know your team skill, then again you can do a gap analysis, and then you will say, well, I'm missing an architect in team who has this kind of skills, who can design the system. Or I need a language person who speaks French, for example, if that project requires French language support for some reason, right? So those kind of things you can identify once you map your team who is going to execute that project with skills. And individual gaps also, again, individual is the easiest thing, and everything will start from here only. Let's say you're trying to promote somebody, and you say, for you to become a manager, you need to have these skills, because you already mapped that manager roles with the skills. So an individual basically can easily be said whether you are ready to get promoted or not. So you identify those gaps at individual level, team level, and organization level. Obviously, you will be tracking those emerging skills needed for future strategic proper priorities. So it could be a future project for which you will identify the emerging skills. As I said, in software these days, AI skills have become really, really must. So we all software companies are focusing on that, what skills we need for to run our show in future. And then of course the inventory. So once you have your skill inventory, and again, sorry to say this, I'm not seeing many organizations keeping this inventory. In my experience, I've talked to at least thousands of them now in last 5 years. So organizations don't have notion of skills. They don't keep inventory. Like at any point of time, as a CEO of a company and as an executive, somebody goes and asks, "Okay, can you tell us what skills we have?" It's a difficult question for all of us because inventory is not there. So what promoting is like you have to have that inventory ready and it has to be up to date, and that's the only way you can run the business going forward. Now, the once you have the inventory ready, once you have the gaps identified, so gaps between two people could be different. So let's say me and my colleague, we both are at the same level. Our job, we joined through a same job description, but still, when you do the skill gap analysis, my communication skill may be bad, worse than his communication skills. So that means, I need communication skill training. He may not need that. So when you launch a communication skill program, I'm the candidate who should enroll into that, not that colleague, because he or she already has good communication skills. Point is, one size doesn't fit all. So that learning strategy is outdated. You need to map people with the skills, and then you need to identify their learning journeys. So tailor development plans based on skill gaps and aspirations. So, again, taking example of same colleague, let's say we both are sort of at a level where we can get promoted. I may choose a different ladder. He may choose a different ladder. So my aspirations may be different. His may be different. So we both will require different uh, different development plan. So you know all these things are possible only when you are measuring things at that granular level. And then of course, to create those personalized uh, learning paths, you can blend micro learning. So micro learning are, again, I will just use this opportunity to talk about that. Micro learning is 5 to 7 minute learning, short burst of learning, apart from your formal training. uh, so you send somebody for a training for a day, but same time, you can just give them a short learning as a retainer over, and when you do it over a period of time, that learning stays. And these days, with the generation Z, uh, the attention span has gone down. So if all my customers basically keep talking about that. So you can when you are creating this personalized learning paths, they can be formal training, which is like classroom trainings where you take them through a formal process, but same time you can blend them with micro learning and real world practices. So when this using simulators and all those things, you can give them real world practice. The last point here is it's straightforward. Like, again, what we have observed, the learning has to be accessible on all the devices. So different people consume learning differently. There is like mix of generation now. So generally they prefer Instagram kind of experience. So you need to make sure that your learning is eye friendly to these people. Short videos, short learnings, easily accessible on mobile. They don't want to sit on a laptop for learning. When they're in field, they're traveling, they want to access learning. So ensure accessibility across devices and based on their learning preferences. So that's where, once you have identified, I'm just trying to tie this concept with the previous one. Once you have identified gaps at the team level, organization level, or individual level, you are creating this personas, personalized learning paths for these people. Okay. And now this is the most difficult slide. Easier said than done. For me, it's very easy to sort of put this 4 points here, but trust me, Nobody has cracked this problem, linking learning to business outcomes. And please open your mic and tell me if you have solved this problem. I would happy to learn about this. Point we are trying to make here, we should do. Of course, it is a difficult problem, but ultimately, if we all aspire to solve this, linking learning to business outcomes. One of the challenges all L&D have told me so far, Nikesh, we have spent so much money. How do we justify that spend? Fundamental question, and they've been asked this question by their management. We have spent 10 lakhs on learning. What's the impact on the business? Now, how do you measure impact? At the best so far, people are L&D is able to project that we have done so many hours of learning, but that hours, how they have translated to business goals, that's a difficult question. So we we try to we try to do that. As I said, it's a difficult problem, but let's talk about that. So align upskill program with strategic goal. First thing, like when you're deciding those learnings, upskilling program, make sure they are tied with some strategic goal. Now, if I take an example, let's say you're a manufacturing company, and then the incident rates are high. There are accidents happening very often, and it is impacting your business. Machines are down. You're losing money, of course, when machine is down, and then incidents happening, insurance cost, and everything is going up. And when you did your analysis, you found out that people are, if we do, people don't know how to operate this new machinery, right? That means upskilling is required, or they are making mistakes there. So your strategic goal is what? To reduce the number of incidents in the factory. And then whatever learning programs you are doing, you are mapping those programs to that strategic goal. Now, let's say you did that for 3 factories, your pan India operations. You did that training for 6 months in 3 factories, and you were very successful. And same time, you are measuring the incident rates. So let's say you started in January, and then incident number of incidents were, let's say, 60. And then as you do this training, you see that number of incident rate is coming down from 60. By May or June, it has come down to, let's say, 20. Now, there has to be something which is helping you reduce the rate, and that's the only thing you are doing right now is upskilling your factory workers. You are providing them learning uh, about the your new machineries and all that. So your strategic goal was reduce number of incidents, and that's where your learning programs were. And you are, if because you align them properly, you are able to sort of link your learning to your business outcome. Business outcome was like less number of incidents, right? Major impact through productivity, quality, performance metrics, something similar to what I just explained. When you spend money, somehow you have to say that my productivity has gone up. Now, again, easier said than done. So every function, every organization will have different way to measure productivity. In software, for example, I can say the kind of, if I took 7 days to do a particular size of feature, with AI I'm able to do that in 2 days. I can, because I upskill my team to pick up AI capabilities, and we are using some AI tool which is generating my code, which is helping me test. My productivity has gone up by so much percentage, just because I upskilled my organization. And this actually is very much happening in software these days. The kind of products we would develop in 2 years, we are able to do that work in 6 months, literally, with the same size of team, right? Quality, of course, no, because you have quality, we just talked about, like uh, because we upskill people, our quality has improved. Now there are different measure to gauge quality. So you will have those in mathematical numbers, and you should be able to link your uh, quality of outcome of anything, whatever you're producing, based on to your learning. So that will help in various performance metrics. So again, the bigger point is, like, you should be in some mathematical way, you should be able to map these things. And caution, piece of caution, it's not happening. And again, I'm just sharing this example, based on my experience. It's very difficult. Organizations are just focusing on number of hours, and that's the reason they are not able to uh, make this kind of statements. So again, saying the connect with learning progress to business KPIs. I'll give you another example here. Like, I have sales team. Every organization has sales team, right? And we are all going and trying to sell our product. The product will get sold only if my sales guy is well equipped with product knowledge. They are able to handle objections which are coming from prospects, and then same time they are able to negotiate well. That's where the closure happens. That skills is very much required in sales team. And every company, no matter what they are making, sales department is there and they are trying to upskill their sales team with all this information. Very easy, right? If you are equipping your sales team with knowledge, which I just talked about, ultimately every sales guy should be able to close more business. And that one KPI is revenue, which we all love, right? So if somehow, if we are able to link those things, that will pay off in long run. And that's where we will be able to justify the L&D spend, because now we are directly making impact on the business. We were always making impact on the business. We were always making, but it just we are not now able to sort of project it, because we have done the alignment properly. And same thing like Shokesh, ROI through improved agility and workforce readiness. So same example, there's a project, $1 million project. Because we had those skills, we were able to win that project, and that's the ROI. Because you develop. So let's say I'm bidding for a Salesforce project. I'm a software company, and then that project needed a certain number of people with certain certifications of Salesforce. Now, because I knew as an L&D that this project is upcoming, $1 million deal, with my HRBP, my business partner, I made sure that we took all the corrective actions. We launched all the required training, so that before that project could be sort of a bid can be submitted, we already have so many certification, and we met the criteria. And again, this is a real example. Some of my clients have been using the platform that way. So again, just to conclude here, very difficult problem to link your learning to business outcomes, but there is a path to reach to that point. uh, and then if the proper alignments are done by L&D and HR, it's not difficult. And then of course, this goes without saying, building a culture of continuous development. So uh, this is something depends on the culture, that because the landscape is changing so fast, people need to be aware that what brought them there yesterday will not take them to the next place tomorrow. So they will have to upskill themselves, uh, and that basically you have to build that culture, uh, daily habits. You learning, I've seen like people onboarding happens, and after that everybody is busy. Managers always say people are busy, I can't leave them for learning. But even managers actually need to realize that if they are not they are not helping HR in promoting learning, or in fact they should be, in my opinion, they should be driving the learning in their respective organizations, and they should be bugging HR that I need these trainings, my team needs this training. So that should be the part of the culture. uh, because the technology space is changing so rapidly, you have to make sure that your organization is a learning organization. Otherwise, no, the skills will outdate very soon. Peer-to-peer learning, knowledge sharing. Again, this happens in organization. I'll be honest, peer-to-peer learning always happen. In fact, that's the best way. So you promote that. People are talking to each other, in software, for example, or any company, brown bag sessions, Friday brown bag section, peer-to-peer learning. One SME, subject matter expert, is teaching others. Those sessions are recorded. They're uploaded in a LMS or a repository, so that people can see it, and knowledge sharing is happening. So people are using chat boxes. I mean, the communication tools which are there in the organization to share the knowledge. uh, they are sharing articles and stuff like that. So HR can sort of help in those activities, like promote and then give some brownie points and things like that, organize those things. So that way, learning culture is established in the organization. Same thing, like HR can at least reward in some way if there are people curious, people are doing brown bag sessions. I remember, I used to encourage brown bag sessions, and if somebody is taking an initiative and doing a brown bag session where they are sharing their knowledge with 10 other people, we would just give them an Amazon voucher. So a small token of appreciation goes long way. So HR can come up with those kind of strategies, like if you're doing that, your effort is rewarded. uh, and then if I'm acquiring those skills, somehow I should get rewarded, if nothing else, eventually a promotion, right? So those kind of paths should be there so that people are encouraged. uh, Create psychological safety for experimentation and growth. So again, this is something, people are very busy. They are deep down in their work on a daily basis, struggling to finish their work. We are all trying to do more with less, but same time, like, if HR can help promote this culture, that try different things, experiment, which is called research, and which will help you grow, try different things. That if that culture is there, people will sort of spend time on research, and who knows, a research can bring back something which will save you a lot of time going forward, right? So those kind of things, HR needs to do that. Now HR, of course, now this is like a, we have been talking about HR only. Whatever I talked about, this is HR responsibility only. So this slide, we are just sort of summarizing that. So one thing, of course, the mindset. That uh, HR, as an HR, if we have this mindset of roles, job descriptions, titles, I think we have to get out of that mindset, and we sort of need to accept or adopt the new currency, which is skills, and sort of push your organization to manage that. Partner with your business leaders, so your business partners, to forecast future capability needs. So this HR cannot do it alone, obviously, and you need to talk to your business leaders for different functions who are responsible for revenues, etc., and understand what's coming. So and accordingly uh, predict the future capability needs, so that you can take proactive actions in terms of launching skills, upskilling programs, etc. Deploy the right learning technologies, analytics. Now here, we are talking about some tools. Make sure you have the learning has to be available to people easily, and that's part of that continuous learning thing. If people are struggling to find information, then it becomes a problem. So you need to use right tools, right technologies, right analytics, so that first thing, learning is available to people easily, and same time, you as an HR or your managers, they have enough of analytics available to see through what skill gaps are there in the system. And as I said, the skills is a moving target. So the target you made yesterday could be changed today. So you need real time information, what are the skill gaps, so that you can take real time actions and drive accountability for learning across the organization. So this is again a hardcore HR responsibility, part of that cultural thing which I talked about. Make sure you are rewarding your managers, uh, so they are pushing learning in their respective teams or organization. So because HR themselves cannot take care of 3,000 people. HR has to sort of work with the business leaders and then the managers to make sure the learning is happening in all the organizations. So to your TNI, for example, a lot of time, how do you do TNI? I suggest best ways to take managers in confidence and tell them, like, you do TNI for your team, and just tell us what trainings are required, and your tool should be able to help you collate all that data where you are doing training need analysis, right? So that's the point we are trying to drive here. And always HR in my mind is a very, very strong function. Uh, so HR needs to project themselves or position themselves as a strategic enabler of transformation, not just learning. I mean, it's the cultural part which I just talked about. That HR is the enabler there. So HR needs to position themselves that way. Okay, now this is all what we talked about. So far, how do we get that into action? So we are in the last two slides, folks. So I'll open it for questions then. Start with clear skill framework. So you must have like skill or competency. I mean, these are synonyms for this presentation. So some organization maintain competency, some organization maintain skills. Whatever it is, you have to have a framework there. So when I say framework, like, how are you going to measure it? What are the skills you are going to, uh, what are the skills are needed in the system? So you need to have a skill tree or competency matrix, and then you need to map people to, you have to map your current organization to those skills or competencies. That's the only way you will identify gaps. So when I say framework, I'm talking about those things. You have to have a tool which will help you with that. If you're not using any tool, even Excel will do that. But you have to, Excel itself becomes your tool then. And then leverage data and technology to automate insights. So same thing, like, once you have sort of done the mapping, then of course you need to use technologies. And again, as I said, that technology can be Excel also, but you have to use some technology to get the insights. Empower employees with personalized learning opportunities. So based on their skills, automatically, like, if you have a good tool, automatically based on skills, the tool itself will sort of create learning journeys for those employees. Because now your tool knows uh, the skills of that employer, HRMS or LMS, whatever you're using, that those tools know about the people, and they can automatically take actions for your people. You don't have to worry about it. Your managers don't have to worry about it. And finally, build a culture where continuous upskilling is the norm. That's my closing message on this. A skill first organization is not built overnight. It's built every day through intentional learning, empowered employees, and HR leadership that drives change. You cannot do that in one day, for sure. It cannot happen overnight. Uh, it could be a good year or two effort, trust me on this, if you want to build a skill first organization. You will, from the current system, as I said, first the mindset. You may launch it, but if you don't maintain the momentum, it will fade away very soon. So to build this organization, you need to start from today, keep the momentum going, and then eventually, in 3 to 6 months, you will start seeing 3 to 6 months, you will start seeing results of those mappings and all that. And automatically, you will be able to see the impact on KPI, and more importantly, you will be able to map your effort to those KPIs. That's what I have seen with skill first organizations. I have few more slides. What is Edurigo? I'll quickly walk through that. We are in a LMS, AI driven, fully AI driven. We adopted AI very early in the game. Content authoring, insights, highly skill based. So we have a very powerful skill module, of course, and then a lot of data driven insights. Uh, Intuitive UI. We have a studio, AI powered studio, where you can quickly sort of figure out, using generative AI, you can create content, stuff like that. You can, within like 30 seconds, you can create an ice core, for example, right? This is something, I have not seen this anywhere. And we have that capability in our platform, AI powered TNA. So again, as I said, if you have your skill data available, system can do a TNA for you, training need analysis. Think about it, because system has all the context of your organization, and all you are putting is like some business goals, and then AI is coming up with what learning you should be launching to meet those goals. That's AI powered TNA, right? uh, some I'm just flashing some UI, very intuitive, highly intuitive, easy to use. And I'll just stop sharing here, and then I'm open for questions. And I think we still finish in 40 minutes, so we can give 10 minutes to questions. So Go ahead.
I have a question, Nikesh.
Yeah, Gaurav.
So we are seeing this shift towards a skill-based approach. I mean, there's a booming market. Every HR, every L&D leader is looking into this. But at the same time, there is uh, the new trend that is also coming into market is task-based approach, where people are saying, I mean, skills cannot work alone. It have to be through the task base and role to task methodology that is circulating around, right?
Hmm.
So how you see these two different approach which is going, and I mean, I cannot definitely uh, comment which one is better because still both are new.
Hmm.
But that the kind of trend that is going to market and uh, two different groups which is advocating, one is advocating a skill based approach, one is advocating task based approach. What is your thought around that?
Sure. No, good question, Gaurav. So again, see, task is not something new. Task has been there since ages, right? Ultimately, any project has to be broken for the execution purpose. Any project has to be broken in task, and we have managed those tasks in Jira of the world and different ways for all our life. Now, if you think about it, uh, a task is also, you know, a task can be performed successfully by a person. Ultimately the task has to be done by a person. So to execute that task or to finish that task successfully, that person has to have a skill. So I still see, like, task is more of a granular level of a project to me, and that project requires a certain skill. When I break that project into tasks, a particular task may require design skill, a particular task may require execution skill, like that. But skill is still, in my mind, is a different attribute, which is linked, which is sort of, good news is, like, which is this skill is something which is tying all these things together: the person, the task, and the skill. I mean, these two things. Task requires certain skills, and that's where you are bringing a person who has that skill and then marrying them. That's how it is. So I honestly don't see a conflict here. Now, to answer to your question, like, uh, if somebody is just ignoring a skill, then basically we are going just old way, right? In my mind, there's a project which is task, and then you are mapping people to a task. Now, are we using task and skill as a synonym here? I don't know. I hope I made some sense, Gaurav.
No, no, totally. Actually, there was a discussion I was having with a task-based approach educator who was mentioning what they are doing into task-based approach. They are actually reducing the role based on task. I mean, what
Okay.
we saw so far, we are reducing the role based on the skills, and they
Yeah,
are
yeah.
trying to reduce those roles based on task. Okay, what task people used to do, they are grouping them in combined, and then reduce the roles, number of roles into organization.
Yeah. So
So, I
in that
mean,
case,
the approach is similar.
yeah, yeah. I was about to say that in that case, the task and skills are becoming synonyms here. Think about it. Like, there's a project. I say there's a design task and there is a coding task. I'm just making the software example because we both are familiar with that, right? Design task and coding task. Now, I can just read the same thing as design skill and coding skill. So I think in that case we are sort of, using task and skill as synonym. But ultimately, you are also right. I mean, if there's somebody is going that way, bottom line, the role dependency is going away, fading away now.
Yes.
Cool. Any other questions, please?
Hi, Nikesh, this is Birju.
Hey,
Um,
Brijo.
yeah, first, thank you for the wonderful session. And of course, it kind of how we see in the HR market, if I may use that word, the role of HR BP, as you mentioned, it is critical, and I can see that it's getting diluted based on pure job descriptions, which are rather operational. So it's important what you highlight, that the role of HR and as HR business partner is to focus on transformation through upskilling, and that is where we're headed. I'm curious too, and I've also had recent conversations. I work with the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, and one of the things that we do is connect with a lot of HR heads who are working with the German companies operating in India. So
Sure.
and this is like a quarterly forum that we engage, and training and development is a hot topic. We are more and more hearing that one, that people think skilling is training. I think it's a different thing, because everybody, when you say training, it's a number of hours or doing
Yeah.
outside. The expectations from employees are, you send me to a training program, so I'm out of the office for 2 days, and then I come back with a certificate. And more companies are saying that they have left learning and development to the business and the employees. Of course, that it's more of a pull rather than a push from HR.
Yeah.
So maybe from your insights or your experience, speaking with L&D, is that also what you see in the tech space? Because what I see is more on the manufacturing, on the industry, that side, not so much on the tech side yet.
Sure. Hey, Birju, good questions, and thanks for your kind words. So, yes, answer is yes. So, first thing, to the first point, training hours does not mean anything. I mean, it is just a number. If I attended a training for entire day, that doesn't mean that I have acquired the skill, right?
Right.
So that is pretty clear, and I think that was always very clear to all of us. It just we did not have a way to measure the impact of that training, like whatever I have
True.
done, what skills I have developed, right? So one point I always tell my people, and this is like industry agnostic. So Birju, I have customers all over, like I have manufacturing, tech, healthcare, hospitality, everywhere. So training hours is definitely not going away, because it is there for so long. So it will remain. This is still one attribute. But more and more people are talking about the impact of that 1 hour or few hours which I have spent. Did it convert to a skill? Now, how do we, the challenge is like, how do we measure it? So, and that's where, the tools come into play. Before I end my day, sort of, the pre-assessment, post-assessment, things like that can be done. Or even if I've attended let's say I've attended a leadership training. You sent me for a leadership training. You spent 50,000 rupees on me. I go for that training, 2 days training in a nice resort. When I come back, expectation was like I would have acquired certain skill, be it communication, be it people skill, whatever. Am I exhibiting those things? So that measurement has to be done by managers. Now, again, HR cannot do that because I'll go to my manager. So that measurement has to be done by my manager, and my manager has to say, well, now I'm seeing Nikesh, you are behaving much better with people. So your people management skills, you have improved. So he can sort of check mark me on that skill. Communication, yes, Nikesh, you were a beginner. Now I see you are an advanced level communicator after that uh, that training. So I think that linkage is very critical.
Right.
And then again for Birju, to justify that 50,000 rupees spent on Nikesh, tool should allow you. Then when the manager says Nikesh has improved these two skills, Birju, we can always say that you have that 50,000 rupees or whatever the amount is worth spending.
Yeah.
Correct. That is one. The second question was pull versus push.
Yeah.
So again, philosophically, I always believed that it's the managers uh, who are responsible for sort of learning of their team, because ultimately they have to meet their goals.
Yeah.
So the gaps have to be identified by them. Unfortunately, the training is always today also in high tech organization, manufacturing. The training is still highly pushed, done in a pushed manner. So HRBPs are organizing, or LD is organizing those training, and then people are going for those trainings. Now one challenge here, or one problem your tools as a tool we are trying to solve is like we are empowering managers. And empowering managers, managers need to know their team's current skill. Now, no tool, if they don't have access to that data, they cannot take decisions. So, if you empower those managers, like, they should know what learnings their team have done so far, what the skills have they developed. They can do a gap analysis, and they can reach out to their HRBP. A recent example, one of the managers, uh, he was handling frontline people, and body language was one of the gaps she saw, and she
Yeah.
reached out to HR and said, body language is something missing in my team. People are sort of, and I need to arrange for that training. Now she basically fed back to TNA. So, your tools have to sort of facilitate those things for this arrangement has to be successful. Now, Bridget, to answer your question, learning will always be both ways. It cannot be purely pull, it cannot be purely push. It has to be right balance of both, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And absolutely. And I think a lot of things are, what comes from the managers knowing their team and the goals of the business, where are we headed and what we need. Right. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
From that point of view, they are the best people to decide what trainings are needed. Again, taking a software example, like, all the managers are reaching out to L&D, please arrange for AI training, please arrange prompt engineering. I've never heard of this term,
Right.
but these days everybody wants to do prompt engineering, because writing prompt has become so important now. Good prompts,
Exactly.
basically.
I think this is, the whole thing with AI is, it's taking us to the basics that as managers and leaders, it's more important to know what to ask. It's not the answer, it's a question.
Yeah,
So I think that leads to a lot of growth and things beyond.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Birju. Any other questions? If not, I think we have just hit 5 o'clock. I can stop the recording